greatness comes from solitude.
I agree. In this video, Naval Ravikant will share 11 truths that I wish I knew before achieving some greatness, after making over $5 million and hiring 50 people. Here is the first one.
All greatness comes from solitude. So if you have the time to get bored, then you can tinker on things you're genuinely interested in for their own sake, and then perhaps you have a chance of discovering something new. And even if you don't, the time was well spent. It wasn't spent with any outcome in mind. All outcomes were kind of pointless anyway, because we all know how this story ends. When you look back on your life in that final moment, you will wish that you'd spent more time on the timeless and less time on the temporary. And there are very, very few timeless things.
Okay, the more time you spend alone, the more bored you can get, and the more you can follow your passions. But why is that important? Okay, but could it be that you then have too many passions?
My mottos are better bored than busy, and the overscheduled life isn't worth living. The world is full of opportunity. You just have to be available, time, mental space to grab it. And when you grab it, you're going to be sorry you grabbed it, because now there's 1,000 other things you can't grab. So you only want to grab the ones that really, really, really appeal to you.
Okay, but then how do you free up your time doing things you are naturally interested in?
Start by saying no to everything. I say no to everything. I don't have a calendar. So when people say, how about such and such time? I'm like, well, I would have to either set an alarm for it or I would have to remember it. So that way, unless I really, really badly want to do it, I just can't even do it. So the maximum number of meetings I can have per day is 1, because that's all I can remember or all I'm willing to set an alarm for. Second, I push everything asynchronous and unscheduled.
Okay, but what if you keep having meetings because you want to keep your job? Then where in your personal life can you apply this?
Every single event is voluntary. You never commit to showing up and speaking at an event. You never commit to a birthday party. You never commit to a wedding. You never commit to a bar mitzvah. It means you never commit. You never let your wife commit you to anything. You never commit her to anything. If somebody says, is he available for X? She doesn't even ask on their behalf. If somebody asks me, is she available for X? I don't even ask her on their behalf. So completely free and unscheduled.
The less commitments, the better. But then what if you lose friends?
So it helps if you're happy with yourself and being by yourself. The irony is, the happier you are being by yourself, the less you will be by yourself, because the more people will want to be with you. You'll never have to spend a moment alone if you don't want to, but if you want to, it's always there for you by default.
The paradox: the happier you are being alone, the more people like being around you. Well, I see truth in that, but what if it feels hard to say no to friends, or even your father or mother?
It's about as hard as it sounds, but it's about 10 times more rewarding than it sounds. So it means you have to break the heart of every person who expects you to be in a specific place at a specific time. That's their expectation. It's their problem, not yours. Also, you have to get comfortable ghosting people who become too familiar. They text you too much. They Airchat you too much. They email you too much. Just stop responding. The monkey on their back that they're trying to put on yours is not your problem. You just have to be comfortable walking away with no remorse.
Get comfortable breaking the heart of every person. But how? Well, before Naval shares his answer, know that I write a weekly 2-minute email with truths that I find in my own life. It's free, but only if you're serious. And you can receive them if you download this free Google Sheet with over 80 free tools that I use in my business and personal life. To save time, avoid distractions, all free, unsponsored and unaffiliated. Anyways, back to Naval.
How do you learn to not care about what other people think of you? This is the hard one, and this is where I'm screwing up right now. The way to forget the insults is to not take in the compliment's place. Because when someone insults you, for that insult to affect you, it has to hit in self-image that you have created. And that self-image was created through compliments.
So every time you get a compliment, it seems like you have the choice to either let that boost your self-image or not. And the more you believe in all of these images you have of yourself, the more difficult it appears to say no when the consequence of saying no will affect your self-image. For example, if you say no to the wedding of a friend, they may now see you as less of a friend. And because you want to be consistent with this image you have of yourself of I am a good friend, you decide not to say no. Which leads me to the question, how does getting comfortable with saying no actually work?
You stop thinking about yourself, because thoughts are what drive the self-obsession. The self is ultimately just a thought. The self is a thought that I am a separate creature, I'm a body, I'm a mind. And if you truly were not thinking, like you're in deep meditation or you're on a psychedelic or you're a Buddha, you wouldn't have a thought of the self and you would just be aware. That's all there is.
Awareness. This ties back to what Naval said earlier.
When you look back on your life in that final moment, you will wish that you'd spent more time on the timeless and less time on the temporary.
So then what is timeless?
If you can't figure something like that out, exactly where you are, exactly when you are there, then it's not true. The truth is not something that's going to live in a certain region at a certain place at a certain time and has to be told to you by a certain person in a certain way. That's not a truth. That's just another experience. Because the whole point of spirituality is to be freed of the monkey mind and to be at peace in the moment. And so it can't be reliant reliant on anything outside. It can't be in the future. It can't be in a different place. You know, one of my problems that I have with all religions is this idea that like, oh, this is the word of God and it was passed down through this book. Well, okay, well, what if I didn't speak that language? What if I was born at the wrong time? No. Any fundamental truth that's spiritual has to be accessible to every human at every time, in every place, regardless of language, culture, religion, age, you know, gender, whatever, or even physical being. Like you could have mental retardation, you could be crippled, you could be dying. You should still be able to see and find and experience that same truth on your own. Otherwise, if it's brought to you from the outside, if it's temporal, it can be taken away from you. And so I think the best path towards truth is understanding, because when you deeply understand something, you're not going to un-understand it. It's the nature of truth that once you see it, once you learn it, you don't unlearn it, because it's true. Truth is indestructible knowledge in your mind. It can only be replaced by a better truth. It can only be replaced by, oh, okay, that truth wasn't complete. Here's another piece of the truth that I was missing. But in that sense, truth cannot be destroyed. It can only be overruled by other truths. So if you find some understanding, then that can be with you forever.
So then what is the ultimate truth in life? What is the timeless truth that everyone is supposed to see, but very few actually do? Well, I've compiled 27 clips in this video where Naval answers these questions. Honestly, I think it's the best video of Naval. You may watch it here, save it to your watch later, or not. Talk soon. And remember, freedom is not in saying no without feeling bad. Freedom is in no longer needing others to feel good about your no. And the key to this freedom is seeing through the belief that your self-images are real. Again, Naval talks about it in this video.